Now go, Sally.
Okay, hi everybody. I have a question for Eric. Eric's hat. So on, if you look to your look straight ahead, Eric, straight ahead, and so the side of your hat shows on the screen.
Turn to
There
your
looks
left.
to
Yeah.
yeah. Look, and then there's Sonic Pay Noon. What's that say on your hat? Because or there it's actually Ian Sonic Noon. What's Oh, okay. The rate the alphabet's going around. Okay, I see. I was
Yeah.
reading from right to left, going, wait a minute, what's that?
Yeah.
It's in the right order. I was reading right to left, and it's actually going around your head. Okay,
Yeah. It's just the alphabetical letter sequence. And
okay, yeah.
some people have asked about, hey, where do you get a hat like this? And I got the hat itself from Duluth. Sorry, there's a lot of noise going on. Somebody's got an open mic. Got the hat from a company called Duluth Trading, and I just painted those letters. So anybody can paint the letters. I did make up a stencil that I could send people that laid out the letters in a certain size that would fit on random different sizes of hat bands. But it's just, you can paint it yourself. Just use waterproof fabric paint. I've known a few other people that did that. Anyway, the idea to finish this talk a bit on the array. Let me just say that the idea that the flame letters, what's called modern flame letters, are maybe not good or bad, or maybe they're just not as good as Paleo, that's not true. The consideration of Daniel 12 that I can't even prove really necessarily is that it says in Daniel 12:4, the archangel Gabriel told Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Now, I'm postulating, I'm presenting the notion that Daniel, in order to fulfill that command, actually changed the shape of the Hebrew letters, the orthography, from the Paleo into those modern flame letters. But the fact that Deuteronomy 33:2 could be read as that Elohim gave them fiery words of the Torah, that same word is a waterfall, which is to say like the heavens open up and water pouring out. It's the same exact word. They've chose to read that as fiery words, and then there's all kinds of teachings about that verse, Deuteronomy 33:2, but it doesn't say necessarily fiery words of the Torah. But that's the way it's taken, and because Elohim shows up like fire, it's his own preference of a metaphor. So is it better to show him as a fire than it is a lion or a bird? Probably, because, well, he uses the metaphor of water and fire. Okay, but he's not fire and he's not water. He just uses it. I mean, fire is actually plasma. Those are 4 states of matter: earth, air, fire, water, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. One reason for having the Dalet referencing the earth is because it's not just the earth, it's this cosmos of time and space and matter. But besides time, space, and matter, you've got life. There's these 4 elements of engagement. That's Daletness. That's part of the study of what does each letter mean. So if you go down the chart after the colored finger writing in, carving in, etching into stone, there's Greek. And the Greek there in that card set has a bronze background, a patinaed bronze. That's because in Nebuchadnezzar's statue, he showed head of gold, arms of silver, midsection of bronze, representing the Greek, and legs of iron. So that English or Latin letters under the Greek of the card set is an iron background that's kind of hammered or aged or pitted, because Rome was, I mean, all the empires are about war, but in particular, Rome seemed to be about conquest and violent rule of law, violent oppression, you might say. So that's why the English Latin has a iron background and the Greek has this bronze background, is because of Nebuchadnezzar's statue that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And then under that, there's one more row. And it, in some versions of the array, this row doesn't appear, but in the card set, there's actually two more. One is a set of cards, which I call the compilation set, which means I've got all 9 images on one card. So you got the earth, air, fire, water concept. So you've got the letters carved in stone, that's earth. You got the Mishkan pattern, there's the air. You've got the modern flame letters, that's the fire. And then you've got the modern cursive letters that look like water ripples, there's the water. And then you've got the number value. You've got the paleo itself, the white letter in the middle. And then you've got the pictograph value. And then you've got the English and the Greek. So there's the 9 symbols that are on the compilation card. But then underneath that, there's a row of various pictures that I've associated with the letters. Those pictures are various graphics that I've put together over the years, that the idea of the graphic, in my mind, subjectively, artistically, poetically, what you want to say, poetic license, I have associated the graphics with a certain letter for some reason. And I wrote up a book called the Smilodon book, which explains every one of those, which I won't take the time to do right now. But what I'm saying is that if you could take the concepts, the thematic elements, not just as a picture, like up at the pictograph font, but as these, there's a certain word used in scripture, which is amadim, ayin mem dalet, yod mem. Well, the yod mem suffix is plural. So what is the word ayin mem dalet? It means to place in a position. Right behind me, there's this arch, 2 arches held by this column, holding up, there you go, a picture of it, holding up this roof. And I could say architecturally, that column holding up that corner, this column holding up this corner, these are amadim. These are standing pillars that are holding up the roof. So Yahweh invented these 22 letters, which are 22 concepts, which are 22 stages of pillars holding up time, space, matter, and consciousness. It's like earth, air, fire, and water. It's like the 4 seasons, or 2 equinoxes and 2 solstices. Yahuwah determined that the number 4, like 4 corners, is the elemental structure of this universe. It's a metaphorical, it's a thematic essence. And each one of the 22 letters has that same. So we look here and say, well, there's only 4. Well, no, he built 22. You can say, well, yeah, but what about 7? Well, the 22 could be divided into 7, and that could be seen as 4 basic. But, well, which one is the best special number? Which one is the best letter? Each letter stands in its own regard. So I could say, in a certain way of thinking, each letter takes the center stage. And if you look at or analyze a particular letter in its particular highlight, spotlight, again, somebody's asking a question and I can't read it. It's gone before I can even wrap my mind around the sentence. So I'll have to address it after the recording's over or in the chat or something. I apologize.
You asked about printing off the cards.
That particular array. Okay, so if you write Eriktology prints, PRINTS, at gmail.com. It'll go to a Gmail site where my friends Pete and Diana up in Montana access that. And there's a place called Kalispell Copy Center in the town of Kalispell in Montana, up in the Northwest, up near Glacier Park and Flathead Lake. And they have the file for printing the array on a high gloss paper. It looks really beautiful. It's about 30 inches square, pretty close to that dimension. And they can get that printed. I think it's about $30 to get them to print it at, that is a kind of a big size, but it's a really nice size, because any smaller than that, you can't really even see the details. And then they've offered to take the effort to get those things printed and to mail them to people. You know, whatever the expense is, they've got to roll them up and put in a tube. It's somewhere around $30 to make that happen. And then they're contributing, offering as a gift their labor to do that, which gets quite burdensome. But just so people know that that's the only way to get that, unless you were to try to download it. But if you took the PDF file and broke it up into pieces and had them printed, I did that. I mean, I took every one of these letter faces and I had them printed at a print shop on a piece of sticky paper. Then I got a deck of cards. I mean, you could buy any regular deck of cards, or you could buy a deck of blank cards online and just put the sticky faces on that deck, and then you'll have a deck of those cards. And it might be cheaper and easier to do that. I did get some cards made, but they're really expensive. They're just to mail a deck of cards, it costs about $100. I got to get them manufactured in bulk, and then it'll be cheaper and easier. Just so you know where that's at.
The other half of the question was, do you have to cut them into individual cards?
What I'm saying is that if you took that PDF file to a print shop and had them do that on their computer, they'll do it for you, because then it's a matter of what paper do you get them printed on. I got them printed on sticky back paper, and I had to sit there and peel the back off and place each one on a playing card. So I told them, here, take the dimensions of a playing card, and then if it has rounded corners or square corners. In fact, when I first designed this this card set was back in like 2005. I had them printed on cardstock. Of course, it wasn't this set. It was a different one. I refined it and made it look like this. But I'm just saying, you know, that's just go to a print shop and have them do whatever you want them to do. But it just gets expensive, because when you print in color, it's like $2 a page for an 8.5 by 11. That's a typical expense. And then you'll have to go to the print shop and say, I want to sit here with somebody who works here, open up the file on your computer, break it down into pieces, print them on cards, and whether it's cardstock or actually playing card with put a sticky face. I've done all that. It takes all that effort. And one of these days, I'll hopefully have a. I mean, you know, to get 10,000 decks of cards made is $60,000, and I've already done all the art, and I've already got the files on record. But it's expensive to get these things done. So if somebody has 60 grand that they want to get 10,000 decks of cards made, we'll hand them out like Halloween candy, as far as I'm concerned. But just to say, you can do whatever you want. You can get them printed up if you want, or you can just get the array and cut them up with a pair of scissors, but then they'd be really small. To get them big enough to see, you actually have to get them printed as a larger size. Anyway, let me just, for the sake of the recording, address what's at the bottom. So the bottom is to say, if we could understand how the pillars of the universe are these 22 letters, I've tried to represent the concepts as graphics. So that one picture I have for the letter Aleph is a painting, an illustration I did back in 1977, which was these two hands and the world drawn as translucent, not like a solid orb. That was before I ever realized that the world was really flat like a pancake. You know, I drew it round like a bubble. Now I don't know which of the two it is, but you know, anyway, that's for people to argue about. Anyway, what I'm saying is that it was the kind of a stars in the background, and it's like, you know, that's kind of the Aleph concept. He's the guy that designed, built, and sustains the whole thing. There's the Aleph. Okay, so I put that picture of the Aleph. And what's a bet? What's a gimel? You know, but if you can look at these images and ponder the notion, and I've used Hebrew words, like for the there's one, I think, for the the Dalet, I think is what the one it is, I have the words Emet and Chesed drawn in a graphic that looks like the American Air Force emblem of the World War I and II era, a circle with a straight horizontal bar going through it with 3 stripes. And in the middle of the, I don't have an American white 5-pointed star, I have the words Emet and Chesed. So there's a verse, I think it's in the Proverbs, that said, truth and kindness, Emet and Chesed, won't fail you if you have them around your neck. So they're like symbols on an officer's rank on his collar sort of concept. And then if you look at the meaning of the word Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, the 3 patriarchs, it means to, Abraham literally means pinion wings by which to soar, to just, Yahweh promised us that if we just walk in his ways, we'd soar, like take up wings like an eagle and fly up into the clouds. That's why that picture looks like that. And Yitzhak literally means hilarious laughter, like fireworks going off. And Yaakov literally means to raise up into the 3rd dimension, which is where you get the word cubed in mathematics through the 3rd power, which is why they have the thing called the Kaaba stone in Mecca. It's Yaakov's name, cube. It means to jump up into the 3rd dimension and supersede your enemies who are trapped in the 2nd dimension. There's all these concepts that I've tried to build into the graphics. And so putting together these 22 graphics, and then at the left-hand lower corner of that array is a few other pictures like the Smilodon, which is another explanation. And up in the top left-hand corner is the Nun Samik and is the Shem Zakar and is the back of the cards, which is the red wax seal, imprint of Nam Yahweh, the empirical decree. So all these graphics mean something. All of them could have an explanation, but I'm just trying to say that each one of the ways you see the letters gives you a regard of who invented the letters, how he built the universe. And these letters are not just letters by which you spell words. They're letters which, like I said in the beginning, are like buses that if you jump on this particular bus of this particular font, it'll take you right to Yahweh, sightseeing through the countryside or sightseeing along the coast or sightseeing, as it were, a shuttle through space. I don't know if you can see that picture. Big X, can you see? I don't know if you can see it, a big X in the sky. Contrails, but it's kind of like up in the sky, there's Yahweh's promise. He said so and he meant it. And for us to say, well, I think he changed his mind, or I think he nailed it to the cross, or I think he did away with it. No, he didn't. But English was used like the Roman Empire to pound your head into submission. Greek was used, as I've mentioned before, the word key, K-E-Y, in Greek means that which locks up and closes. You got a lock set on this door. I can't see the imagery. That lock on the door keeps the bad guys out of the house. Okay, that's Greek for the word key. But in Hebrew, the word key is mem pei tav het, and it means that which opens, unlocks. So I found it to be really interesting. It's like Hebrew, the word key means to open. And in Greek, the word key means to lock and to close. Okay, that's a metaphorical comprehending that Yahweh used the Greek language as lingua franca, as the common language around the face of the earth in the days of the New Testament, to occlude, to close and lock up the understanding that is to be held in Hebrew, which means he has retained the opening, the understanding of the Hebrew until now, to give it to us as a gift of coming back to his ways. And so when people like Michael Heiser, Michael Brown, Miles Jones, who are linguistic scholars, I am not knocking their intelligence and I'm not diminishing their scholarship. But what I'm saying is for them to say the Paleo-Hebrew is bogus, the letters mean nothing. And one of them even said, you know, we have scoured the archives of history and found nobody ever has proven or even declared that the Paleo-Hebrew letters mean such things that we're talking about. What I'm saying is, thank you, affectionately referring to them as the M&M boys, Michael Heiser, Michael Brown, Miles Jones. Thank you, boys. You, by being the professionals, have gone out into the archives of the world and shown us that nobody has ever found this to be true, ever in the past. Thank you. That proves that this is a gift from Yahweh for us, present tense. No wonder you haven't seen it. No wonder you haven't found it. I agree with you, but these days is different days. These days is the days of Yahweh's favor poured out upon his people, saying, come back and listen to my voice. Hallelujah. What a wonderful time. Gosh, this is great. All right. So then for them to say, well, we refuse to go beyond our enclave of understanding, well, that's up to you. And if you want to convince others to stay in that enclave of understanding, that cave of great insight, go ahead. But look at this, is Yahweh's got this whole pasture land, this whole orchard and vineyard of delight. That's oneg. So onega is, what a delightful occasion. What a beautiful meal of manna, of a cascade, of this rush of a waterfall watering his garden. So that word Aleph, Shin, Dalet, Tav, that they translated fiery Torah, is actually a rushing waterfall where he's sending it in, well, like he did, like in Yosemite, they had the thing back in the 60s called the Firefall. So they went up onto a high cliff and they, over near I think it was across from El Capitan. But anyway, they shoved off this huge burning fire. You might say, Kurt, if you edit this, get a picture of the Yosemite Firefall. They don't do it anymore because it's not ecologically sound. But at night, I remember seeing it as a kid, they shoved this big bonfire off the cliff and it falls down like a waterfall, only it was fire. That's a beautiful image of what this stuff is. Okay, anyway, that wraps up what I'm saying about the card array. Now, if you guys want to talk about it, and just during the break there, we were talking about saying, I'll just reiterate this one part. Mark had brought up about the Holy Spirit like a dove, and so people have taken the image of a dove, and Yeshua, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, so they take an image of a lion, and so now our God has imagery, and so in particular, Jews and Arabs say, hey, that's idolatry. You can't have an image of Elohim. And Christians can say, oh, no, he gave us those images, the dove and the lion and the man. But yet, Deuteronomy, Yahweh is saying, no, I made sure you didn't see any image, not a man or a woman, not a lizard, a reptile, an animal, a fish, a bird. You heard a voice. He gave us his voice only, but he did give images of fire when he appeared, pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, and he gave us, this concept of the rushing water, Ayin Shin Dalet Tav, which could be seen as Aleph Shin, which is fire, and Dalet Tav, which is literally the word dat, which means right, pious, orthodox, legal, religious. So for people to say, you Orthodox religious people, hey, that's his word. He thinks that's a good word. That's Dalet Tav. So people who think that orthodoxy and legality and religion is bad, is less than relationship, that's not true. That's bad definitions of words. Yahuwah himself is really into the idea that we regard his legality religiously. Just so you know, it's the word Dalet Tav. Look it up if you want. Anyway, for us to use images of a dove or a lion or a human or even some virgin mother is idolatry compared to just listening to his words. And so I've been trying to use letters as art, Hebrew letters as art, playing with concepts because it looks like that's his game. Anyway, you guys can turn on your mics and cameras and we could discuss this if you'd like.